580-550, the other numbers. Brought to you by Oasis Petroleum and the Be the Buffalo Hotline. More at oasispetroleum.com. With Scott out, Leon Francis and Raheem Williams in the host chair today. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, and it's Friday the 13th, man. That explains a lot. I mean, a ton it explains.
I've always thought it was a good day. I've never had a bad, because it's always Friday.
Have you looked outside?
I agree.
Well,
Yeah, I would think a Monday the 13th would be a much worse phenomenon.
Yeah.
Everybody hates Mondays. Everybody hates the 13th. I think a Monday the 13th should really be the bad one.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I would just, bogart myself in the house, just turn on my headphones and be done with it. Put it to bed, man. Oh, God. Anyway, I'm Leon Francis. Been a while, but it is like riding a bike. So I'm good here. This is good space. Studios that I remember were a little bit smaller. Well, they didn't have all the stone and the granite on the wall.
There's clearly been some prosperity around
Oh,
here.
yeah. There's
God
been
bless
some
us.
economic prosperity
Capitalism,
here,
my
man.
friends. That could pay off for you.
I'm a big
It did.
fan of capitalism.
Hey, did Trump help out with that a little bit? I'm just saying, because I know my economic capital went up a significant amount, I'll say.
I mean, the entire media feeds off the man.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh,
fair
yeah.
enough to say.
Exactly.
Big business.
I mean, and look around you there. That didn't happen during the Obama administration or the Clinton administration. I mean, come on.
Oh,
You
none
know
of this
what
happened during Obama. I thought he was the Messiah. Anyway.
It depends on who you talk to, but that stuff didn't come along till the Trump administration. So
that whole walking on water thing, that wasn't a thing he did?
only when it's frozen, then it works.
They got water down there? Anyway, we got an awesome...
Why do you think that swamp stays nice and wet?
I know, man. Don't get me started on the swamp. We will be here for a solid 4 days and a
go
couple
for
hours. But I got a feeling that our guest is probably going to want to get back to Minnesota. I'm a North Dakota boy, so I don't understand it, but, you know.
Yeah, really? Who would make that switch? What the heck?
3-2 beer, what's that all about? I don't know.
Hey, we're working on that.
Well,
much
the
more.
swamp, the
Working
swamp
on
is
that.
frozen in Minnesota today.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it? That's
You won't
sultry.
get drained with the swamp because it's frozen. That's a good point.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That sultry voice you hear coming through your speakers there, that's Jason Lewis. He is a candidate for U.S. House in Minnesota, and he stopped by to say hi. I'm going to try to get him to spend about an hour with us. And I know you got, I know you got other engagements
There's no
and
such
all,
thing as
but,
the free lunch, you know.
but you cannot leave because look at all that global warming that Thunberg brought with her.
Looks like we got about 3 or 4 inches of global warming last night.
Yeah,
right?
we did.
Yeah,
We did.
yeah.
How dare she?
It is something, though, this economic prosperity with the lowest unemployment rate, especially among minority groups in 50 years, historically the lowest among African Americans, Hispanics, and women. And it all came about because, in the 115th under President Trump and under our leadership when I was serving in the House, we did tax reform and regulatory reform. The Tax Cut and Jobs Act is doing exactly what we said it would do, gentlemen. And now what does Tina Smith, my opponent in the U.S. Senate race, want to do? Repeal the tax bill.
Oh, man.
Running on
I
repealing
think
the
that's
tax.
absolutely insane.
It is.
There's this delusion amongst the left that somehow you could tax your way to prosperity, and it's an absolute myth.
It is. It is. And what people don't understand on the left is the first rule of economics, and that is opportunity cost. For every dollar they spend, it's another dollar you're not spending. They think they can print their way out of prosperity, but then you just get asset bubbles and inflation. But look, if they borrow or tax, it doesn't matter how they do it, it comes out of your pocket. So who's better to spend your money, you or a bureaucrat in D.C.? And that's how you get economic growth, when people can invest in something like this wonderful new facility here. And in addition to being a great facility, Hennon isn't here. So this is like a perfect day.
Jason Lewis is here.
Yeah, you know the guy. No, but Scott's got those are big shoes to fill. So I am not mad at that dude. I would not be in Washington right now though because you just get dirty.
Yeah, you got that right.
It's a bad
never
thing.
clean.
You know it's Friday the 13th, right? As
Oh, yeah.
you said, Leon. I mean, this travesty in the House. You know, it is amazing. I served in the House in the 115th, as I mentioned. And when we were running in the blue wave, which is really the green wave, more Tom Steyer money, more Bloomberg money, all the money that got these radicals elected, we told people last fall that this is what they would do. Forget about what we did in the 115th on tax and regulatory reform, on career and technical education reform, on juvenile justice reform, my bill that was signed into law, on VA reform so vets could go to a private clinic, on energy independence. We're now energy independent. Jimmy Carter's can't believe what's going on. We said they're going to obstruct, they're going to investigate, and they're going to impeach. And sure enough, they haven't done a damn thing, and that's what they're doing today with these ridiculous articles of impeachment.
Oh, I love the fire, man. And I definitely, we got to talk about criminal justice reform.
Yep.
Because that's a huge thing. But last night I was on Twitter. You know, I got my fingers going. And I saw one of your Tina's little bots on there talking about Line 3 and
Right.
things of that nature. And so I shot her a little a tweet, and I'm like, you know, she made a offhanded remark about North Dakota. And I'm like, man, we love it over here. We got clean air. We got the energy, ag, tech. I mean, everything over here is great.
We definitely
and
have one
you want Minnesota to be that exact same way.
So this week, Leon, we were touring the Line 3, Enbridge Line 3, and the interconnecting terminal is in Clearbrook, but it comes through, obviously, from Edmonton through North Dakota and then into Clearbrook. And you've got, I can't remember how many lines, over 10 lines. There's line 67, line 13, line 1, 2, 3, 4. But line 3 is the one they want to replace because it's a dilapidated 50-year-old pipe. Now, if you're really an environmentalist, you want to replace that, right?
Exactly.
But more importantly, it feeds into Minnesota Pipe, which goes to the state's largest refinery, which was in my old congressional district, which feeds all of the Lear jets for those environmentalists at MSP Airport. So it's kind of a bizarre thing to say I'm against that. But here's the kicker. In Canada, they've upgraded the line. In North Dakota, you've signed off on upgrading the line. In Wisconsin, they've upgraded the line. Only Tina Smith and Minnesota is holding this thing up. It is unconscionable given the economic prowess or the economic impetus that would provide for northern Minnesota.
All right, can you really call them progressives if their policies are regressive?
There's nothing progressive about it.
Right.
I mean,
Back to the Stone Age.
Tina Smith, my opponent in this U.S. Senate race, is the accidental senator. She was appointed lieutenant governor.
That's weird, Jason. I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
I
she
was
was
just thinking that.
You know, look, if you're appointed by Mark Dayton to anything, that ought to be
Right.
reason enough
Yeah.
not to.
And you're
not to-
following Al Franken?
She was appointed as Al Franken's successor. And think about where she now is knee deep with the resistance on not only undoing the tax bill I talked about, not only on post-birth abortion and infanticide. When the governor of Virginia said, you know, it's okay if a baby survives a botched abortion, we'll talk with the mother as to whether we should let the baby live or not. Tina Smith went on the floor of the Senate and said, well, I agree with that. To give that baby medical treatment would be inappropriate.
Wow.
Now, she's a former executive at Planned Parenthood.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding.
Right? Oh, man. It's a good thing I didn't see that last night.
Well, you've got, so again, undo the tax bill, post-birth infanticide, as some people call it. Forget about logging, mining, and energy on the range. Open borders, and she wants to remove Brett Kavanaugh and impeach this president. Now, if that isn't extreme, the earth has shifted under our feet, fellas.
It kind of has. I mean, I'm looking at a screen right now that is just bizarro world, in my opinion.
Right.
But I want to touch on a couple of things that I know about you. I know that you are you're a guy that you don't believe in big government. You're not a top down federal government runs everything. Kind of expound on that. Where are you like with states' rights or federalism, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, if George Washington was reputed to have said, government is not eloquence, it is not reason, it is force. And he's quite right if you think about it. What we grant in this organized society of ours is a monopoly on force to government. And if you don't believe me, don't pay your taxes on April 15th. You'll find out what force is. So if you're going to hand over the power of the police, they called it the police power, you need to limit that. And that's what our Constitution does. Okay, we're going to let these people arrest the bad guys, so we don't live in this sort of archaic and dog eat dog state of nature. But we don't want government to do to us what other bad people would do to us without government. So we put limits on it vis-a-vis a constitution. And what the left is trying to do is undo the limits.
Right.
And go from a constitutional republic to mob rule. So I happen to believe across the board that you ought to limit force. And that means I don't care whether it's state prerogative on medicinal marijuana or federalism or any of that. I certainly believe it when it comes to criminal justice reform. We ought to allow the states to experiment.
Oh, absolutely. And we're gonna touch on that on the other side of this break. This is what's on your mind.
Phone number 701-258-0550, 1-800-228-0550. Weigh in. We would love to hear from you on what's on your mind.
Make your gifting Christmas in.
All right, you are live.
This is What's on Your Mind, brought to you by our friends at MyPillow. You go on to MyPillow.com, enter the promo code Scott, 30% off, right there. MyPillow towels, the pillow, the sheets, and the mattress topper. The big thing everybody's talking about now is the two big new things that Mike's got going on, which is the sheets and the towels. The sheets are fantastic. You can ask Todd the Radio God Mitchell about the towels in Royal Purple. They are fantastic. 6-piece set, 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, 2 washcloths, made in the USA, 100% USA cotton, 60-day money-back guarantee, all available at MyPillow.com. Check out all the products. The pillow and the sheets are fantastic. Just remember that promo code SCOTT at MyPillow.com. What's on Your Mind is on, and Leon Francis and Raheem Williams are guest hosting today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Oh, man, I love that Feliz Navidad playing.
Right.
Makes me think of warmer climes a little
Christmas, yeah.
Tis the season.
bit. 'Tis the season. We're in with Jason Lewis. he's trying to do great things for the folks in Minnesota. And I don't know if that's a heavy lift. Is that a heavy lift?
Well, Leon, let me just say this. I'm trying to do great things for the folks in Minnesota, the state I want to represent in the U.S. Senate. But there are 100 senators, and every single vote in that body affects everybody in the country, including folks in North Dakota. And so if you want to make certain that the last firewall of freedom, the Senate, stays in the right hands, you better be looking at every Senate race and get out there and support them. So that's a not so clever appeal to support here in North Dakota. But I'm serious about that. One vote, doesn't matter where it comes from. We've got to hold the Senate.
It's absolutely true.
And I know a lot of folks like to write Minnesota off as blue or purple or whatever, but the Trump rallies
Right.
kind of show you a different side, right?
When I first heard that the president was coming back to Minnesota, I knew he would be because he really wants to be the first president since Nixon to win Minnesota. But I heard he was coming to Ilhan Omar's district in the heart of Hennepin County in downtown Minneapolis. I thought, what are those guys thinking? Well, I was there, of course, and there were 30,000 people, set a record for target attendance, outside 10,000 people. And I was glad at the rally to get the president's endorsement. So you're right. There's something going on in Minnesota. Remember, Pennsylvania could not go Republican. It did. Mm-hmm. Michigan could not go Republican. It did. Wisconsin could not go Republican. It did. Guess who's next in line? That'd be Minnesota. Yep. 44,000 votes. That's it.
You know, I think, Jason, a big part of what Leon is referencing is the literal bipolar nature of Minnesota. Because you've got the 7-county Hennepin, or the 7-county metro, Hennepin, whatever, Ramsey. And then you've got the rest of the state.
Right.
And I've been almost advocating for an electoral college in the state of Minnesota, so each county. You know what I'm saying? Because the metro seems to control, and it's frustrating. And I'm in MN7. I'm up here in Minnesota 7 with Colin Peterson doing nothing.
Right.
You know, and my buddy Dave Hughes and Michelle Fishbach were trying. That's like a coin flip. I don't know which one to go with. But it's just amazing how bipolar Minnesota is. How do we fix that?
Well, I think the way you fix all of the problems, including this Friday the 13th impeachment, is to beat them at the ballot box in November of 2020. That would so devastate that would devastate the resistance, because think of what they've got. They've got what I call institutional liberalism. They've got the universities. They've got K through 12. They've got the media. They've got Hollywood. They've got the nonprofit community. They've even got a number of churches. These are all this narrative that these people don't report on. They create a narrative. In fact, to your point, Leon, the narrative that Minnesota is a blue state is not something that's factual necessarily. If you think of, we've had Rudy Boschwitz as senator, we've had David Dernberger, Rod Grams, Norm Coleman. We've always had a one-on-one split. It is something, however, that the media try to make a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we say it long enough, people believe it. So that's a real problem. But I will say this. Minnesota, to your point, being as Hennepin and Ramsey, those are the two major counties in the 7-county metro area. As they become darker blue, the rest of the state's becoming darker red, and it's happening throughout the country.
So I'm happy you brought up the institutional issues. That's something I preach myself a lot, and it's so refreshing to hear that from you, because that's something conservatives need to wake up to, especially our universities. They give so much money, and nobody knows what they do with this money, and often they go and use it to push Marxist propaganda. And we need to be eyes wide open to these issues, and we need to start clawing back those institutions.
You know, you couldn't be more correct. When I was in the 115th, we had a bill called the Prosper Act, which would have required transparency when you go to a 4-year liberal arts school that says, okay, here's what it's going to cost. Here's your student loan. Here's that magic of compound interest, your total payments. Oh, and here's your likely income from getting that anthropology degree. Mm-hmm. The higher ed lobby fought that tooth and nail.
Clearly.
Because they know they got a pretty good deal going. When you've got the taxpayer and $1.5 trillion in student loans, keep throwing money at them. The single fastest expense in America is not health care, it's not oil, it's not groceries, it's tuition and textbooks.
All right.
And we keep subsidizing it. And then they add insult to injury, to your point, then they adopt anti-First Amendment safe zones. There really ought to be.
You can't make it up.
There really ought to be, seriously, there ought to be some. You know, there's an old adage, that which the government subsidizes, it may regulate. We ought to tell the university community, if you start to rescind the First Amendment, you're not getting a federal dollar.
Amen.
I'm on board with that. CTE.
Yep.
Let's talk about that.
You come up to North Dakota, and I remember years ago, Scott and I went out to Tioga and the Williston Basin and did a couple of shows because it was the closest thing to a gold rush I'd ever seen in my life. And that's what could happen, by the way, in northern Minnesota with copper nickel with Line 3. We went up there, and every employer to a person was saying, I don't need those anthropology majors. I need a pipe fitter. I need a millwright. I need a plumber and electrician. You know the old story about the lawyer that hires the plumber. Got a problem with the sink. He comes out and the plumber fixes it. 20 minutes later, the plumber says that'll be $500, and the lawyer says $500. That's more than I charge as a lawyer. And the plumber says that was more than I charged when I was a lawyer too. and that's what we need. So we had a bill that we did get through the 115th. That I served on the Education and Workforce Committee, and it was called a career and technical bill, basically a reauthorization of the Perkins bill. But I had a dual enrollment amendment that thankfully passed that allowed kids in high school not to take classes that would count for college credits just in 4-year liberal arts schools, but in technical schools.
Yeah.
And so that is, I don't know why we've got this cultural bias to tell young men and women, you've got to get a 4-year liberal arts degree. And if you want to do that, fine. I like to say my freshman year in college was the best 3 years of my life. But there are jobs out there for those career technical that you can get a job after a year of school or 2 years max, and you can go out and earn $70,000, $80,000 a year with a health care plan and start saving money.
Absolutely.
So,
Or you can get a gender studies degree and,
Basket weaving.
that sort of thing.
At least baskets are useful.
it's really student malpractice. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, some of these pseudo academic departments in terms of like gender studies, they get 0 citations,
Right.
But for some odd reason, taxpayers are footing the bill for hundreds of thousands in terms of payroll, if not millions. It's an absolute scam. It happens at NDSU, it happens at UND, it happens at University of Minnesota. So
Yes.
it's absolutely insane.
You are correct.
We got William in Minot, and I think he's going to give us a little insight on Minnesota politics. What's going on, William?
Well, no, I just I listening to the candidate running for the Senate of Minnesota, and one of the things that I think that we should tie to these Democrats because
Hey, William, I want you to finish that point, but I misread the clock. It's been a while. So let's hold on. We'll get to you right after the break. This is What's on Your Mind. And Todd, what are those numbers again?
I can do them. 701-258-0550, 1-800-228-0550. What's on Your Mind Radio at the studio at what'sonyourmindradio.com.
We'll be right
Red
back.
Rock Auto is in Watford City, North Dakota with Dodge and Chrysler products.
Brought to you by our friends at Pfeiffer's Auction Company. Pfeiffer's upcoming auctions include 950 acres of exceptional cropland, pasture and hunting land in Rowlett County, North Dakota, 200 acres of exceptional cropland in Ward County, North Dakota, 160 acres of exceptional cropland in Trail County, North Dakota. An exceptional land lease auction in Logan County, North Dakota, featuring crop and pasture land. And if you want info on these or any other auctions, just give them a call. 877-700-4099. 877-700-4099. Or view all auction items at Pfeiffer's. That's PIFERS.com. Proud sponsors of What's on Your Mind. Leon Francis, Raheem Williams sitting in for Scott Hennon today.
Oh, man. So who picks the bumper music?
Well, Daniel does. I do.
Let it snow, really?
Oh, yeah, man. It's
That kind of day.
Come on, it's where we live.
Hey, I got an
Open
idea
the window, man.
for a bumper for my opponent.
Yeah?
Yeah, it'd be back in the USSR.
Oh, man.
Ouch. Love it.
We're going to talk more with Justin Lewis about criminal justice reform. Big thing. I mean, this is Jason Lewis. Sorry. I'm reading and looking at the TV and trying to keep all this straight.
It's been a while. You're good.
You're doing great.
It's like on a bike, I guess. If you fall off and scrape your knee once in a while. But we're going to get back to William so we can finish his comment, and then we're going to talk about criminal justice reform. We're going to talk about trade. I'm going to pick his brain. So when
That
he's
shouldn't
done,
take long.
when he's done, you're going to know everything you want to know and need to know about him. So going back to William out in Minot. What's on your mind, William?
Well, one thing I'd like to say about these Democrats who I like to think that they are very compassionate. They don't have a compassionate bone in their body. And I'll tell you what, their policies, if you look overall, the policies that they promote actually kill people. And what I'm going to talk about here now is the Democrats are really in partnership right now with the drug cartels in Mexico. But 68,000 people, mainly young, die of drug overdoses. 90% of the fentanyl and heroin comes up through the southern border. Have you ever heard the Democrats talk about that? No, they want the borders open.
Yeah.
They want those drugs to keep flowing into the United States and keep killing our young people. And how about the thousands of Americans that were murdered last year by illegal aliens? Have you ever heard the Democrats talk about them?
No.
They actually make fun of the angel moms or the thousands of Americans who were killed by illegal alien drunk drivers. You never hear them talk about them. But if a person gets pneumonia and dies in the custody of the Border Patrol, then right away the Border Patrol are Nazis. They're running concentration camps. ISIS has to be destroyed. They're promoting the drugs to come to this country and killing people.
Don't get me started on that.
It's not just drugs they're promoting.
The people in this country, the Americans, are just collateral damage to the Democrats. That's just part of business. Those people are going to have to die because we want open borders, and we need to pin that right on them and make them responsible.
Let me tell you something, William. Let me tell you how bad it is. Again, in the 115th, when I was in the House of Representatives, we had offered the Democrats and Pelosi a bill that would have fixed the dreamers, kids who were brought here under the age of 18, brought here when they're 5, no fault of their own, grew up, and now, technically they're here illegally. Are they going to deport them? We said, no, we'll give them undocumented status. We will fix the Flores consent decree, which mandated after 20 days of separation of families at the border, on one condition, Ms. Pelosi, one condition. You give us $5 billion for the wall. She said, no way. I want those other two items. I'm not giving you a penny for the wall. Those were called the Good Lot 1 and Good Lot 2 bills. I supported both of them. That is called real compromise, real reform. The Democrats wanted nothing of that because it would have actually stopped illegal immigration at the border by building a wall. So that's how intransigent they are.
Why do they want to leave the border open, Jason?
My question exactly.
Two reasons. There's a confluence of quite frankly, political interests here. One, the Democrats are looking for more voters. As they are basically kicking the old blue-collar Scoop Jackson, JFK Union Democrat out. They need new voters, and they're doing that with, quite frankly, some shenanigans at the border and getting new people in here who get addicted to public assistance and then vote Democrat. Two, though, to be perfectly honest here, you've got the large companies and some of the chamber crowd that loves cheap labor, which drives down the labor costs of everybody else here. So they're very powerful interests that do not want to get a handle on the border. And to Donald Trump's eternal credit, he has finally been a politician, unlike Obama, unlike, quite frankly, previous Republicans that are doing something about the border.
It's absolutely amazing the things that are going down at our border, and even more so how they manufacture these crises.
Right.
Because what people don't understand is during the last federal government shutdown, Democrats actually negotiated for lower bed, smaller bed counts in terms of these facilities. And then when the rush came, which Border Patrol warned them of, they were overcrowded, and Democrats took the media down there with their cameras and said, hey, look at what these Nazis are doing, which is absolutely insane. These things happened before Trump. Hopefully they won't happen after, but it's
Flores
absolutely
consent
insane.
decree happened during the Clinton administration.
All right.
Right after Bill Clinton went to the State of the Union address and said, we all care about illegal immigration, going to do something about it. The Democrats have gone off the proverbial
That's a
deep
pretty
end.
good Clinton, Jason.
They've gone off the deep end, and that's why I'm so glad to have Kevin Cramer's support. He was one of the first sitting members of the United States Senate to endorse my candidacy, and Kevin has been great, and he needs reinforcements.
I can see
Oh
why.
man, we got a full board here, and they're all waiting to talk to you. So, all right, let's go to Jason. No, let's go to Michael. Jason is sitting here. It's been a while. Hey, Michael, what's on your mind?
Hello, Jason. Merry Christmas from Saskatoon.
All right, same to you, my friend.
Do you think that Trump will go down in history as the most consequential U.S. president? Because I definitely think he's the smartest, the most wily. Your thoughts?
Well, he could be the most transformative, certainly in our generation, but maybe in a century or so. It's hard to discount Jefferson and Lincoln and all the rest, but certainly the most transformative from a look. There's a political realignment happening right now, and it's not the old traditional private equity conservatism that was a hallmark of the country club Republican crowd. Right. It is a new blue collar. The salient feature of the Trump presidency has been he's brought the working man and woman back to the Republican Party.
The forgotten men and women.
The forgotten,
yeah,
right, as
true.
Amity Schill says. And so he says, I'm going to do something about immigration, and he actually tries to do it. He actually does it. He actually talks about doing all of these things on tax and regulatory reform, which we got done, on healthcare reform, which if it weren't for John McCain's, quite frankly, betrayal, we would have got that done. Trump is doing these things, which is why the left despises him so much and realize he has to go.
Imagine that.
I haven't mentioned the judgeships. 150 lower court
Yeah.
judges. We will transform constitutional jurisprudence under a second Trump term, and I'm going to help him in the Senate.
And when you finish a job, well, there's nothing else to do. So it's like the hamster wheel. They got to look busy, got to
Right.
look always something generating the bureaucracy to self-sustain itself.
Oh, yeah, and the federal government keeps getting bigger, and your freedoms keep getting smaller.
And nothing keeps getting done,
Nothing
and-
gets done. And imagine that. A politician that says, hey, this is what I'm going to do for you, and then he does it. What?
You know what, Leon, honestly, what really, to me, what shone a spotlight on that was this Fisher border wall, this Tommy Fisher deal. Better, faster, stronger, cheaper, and it took Kramer forever just to get anybody to look at it.
Right.
Army Corps won't have anything to do with it.
Don't get me going on the Army Corps.
There we go.
Wars of the U.S. rule, anybody?
Yeah, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
But think about the endless wars. So
Yeah.
Trump campaigns, and this was a sort of a non-Republican position, right?
Right.
When I voted in the 115th against reauthorizing the FISA court completely, and I got in an argument with a noted Republican on the floor over there. But I'm not going to authorize a secret court because I know what they did against Trump, and they'll do it against you. I'm a civil
yeah.
libertarian, right?
Yeah.
But when he talked about ending endless wars, that was just very controversial. We can't do that. I mean, Bush and Obama had all this policy. We can't do that. And then we get this report here 2 weeks ago that, well, the government's been lying to us about Afghanistan for 18 years.
Oh, yeah.
Trump was right.
Yeah.
So, now that you mentioned endless wars, I found this very, very interesting. There was a poll, I believe it was a NBC poll, something of that nature, and it showed that 50% of Americans think that things in Syria got worse under Trump, which is mind-blowing. Like it spoke to the raw power of fake news.
No,
okay?
that's exactly
because
right.
it's such a lie. Like you can look at maps, see they have completely collapsed under the Trump administration. He came in on day one and took the handcuffs off. He was like, kill him.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do, kill him. And I supported that 100%, and it shows.
The Syrian policy was put in place by the previous administration. He was going to take the 10,000 refugees, which we did take a number of them, but they're the ones that went to war with the regime there and wanted regime change. Look, we cannot become an empire and start picking and choosing countries we're going to overthrow. That's what Eisenhower warned us about.
Yeah.
And so Trump says, yeah, I agree with that. And all of a sudden, he's being validated at every turn.
Oh, yeah. Cody in Bismarck's been waiting for a while, so we're going to get him on. What's on your mind, Cody?
Hey, guys. How's it going? I saw this on Facebook going around for a while now, and they have this movement to rename Custer Park in Bismarck here. And I just wanted your guys' opinion of that. I've worked with you guys before, Second Amendment rally and all that kind of stuff. But it's the same kind of people that were behind the No Dapple movement. A lot of them are, and I have no idea why or this is needed at this time, and I just want your guys' opinion on it because it just it's a smaller park in Bismarck. It's off of South Washington Street. It's not a very big park, and they're making this big movement to want to get it changed. And they're using quotes like Custer was court-martialed twice, and even though their lack of understanding of history, they don't understand even why he was court-martialed. They're just saying that in general. But I just wanted your guys' opinion.
Well, me, right off the bat, when we start changing history, and I'm a Southern boy, and I'm proud of my Southern heritage. Not all of it. I mean, some of it was pretty bad, but I am proud of my Southern heritage. I do not agree with pulling down statues and changing names and all of that. And I know that there are a lot of folks out there that agree with that. I mean, our former secretary, what was her name under Trump?
Shalala? Or no, which one?
She just
which secretary?
Secretary of State. No, our ambassador.
Haley? Nikki Haley?
Nikki Haley, yeah. I love Nikki Haley. Love her. Her story is phenomenal. But, we disagreed on a couple of things when it came to, tearing down some of the monuments. But we're running out of time. Jason, I did not get to pick your brain, man. You got to come back in here.
We'll do it. We will definitely do that. It's Lewis 4MN. Lewis F-O-R-M-N.
Yeah. You're going to do great things, and we're going to watch, and we're going to celebrate when that happens.
And I'm going to come back, especially when you guys are filling in.
Good deal.
That was good. Thanks, man.
Since Precision Concrete Cutters.
Wow, that went pretty quick.
That was great, man. Good job.
Thank you.